Have you ever wondered what you should do if you suddenly see somebody flipping you the old bird while conducting surveillance? If so, then this video is for you. Welcome to the PI Guide, tips, tricks, and advice for professional private investigators just like you. My name is John Morris. I'm a licensed professional private investigator in Colorado. Rude, insulting, and aggressive people are just some of the folks you will run into while conducting surveillance, unfortunately. No, not that these types of individuals are desired, but it is inevitable you will run across them from time to time. In this case study and lessons learned video, we will take a look at a case I had a while back that involved a special individual all tatted up, looking quite mean and staring right in my direction, flipping me the old bird while I sat across the street on stationary surveillance. Now, this case was nothing special. It was just a routine activity check on an individual who had an insurance claim in. The insurance company just wanted to know what he was up to, what he did day to day, and if he showed any signs of injury. I had 3 days to work this case, so I wanted to be very careful to not get burned and make sure I got all 3 days in. The residence was along a major 4-lane road with heavy traffic. There was limited parking along the roadway, which allowed me to see the front of the residence. This was not a desirable neighborhood, to say the least. The problem I had was that my subject parked in the rear off of an alley behind the residence, not on the front driveway or on the main road. So I had to find a place to park where I could watch the front of the residence, where he might leave on foot, and watch the exit routes from the alleyway. Luckily for me, I found a spot where I could watch the front of the residence and one alley exit directly and see down the block if he exited the alley at the other end and went out to the main street. So I had most of the bases covered. My first day on scene, I was successful following my subject after he left the house and took his son to a school bus stop about a mile away. He sat there for a while waiting for the bus. When his son got on the bus, he was out of there. I then followed him to a convenience store where he picked up a 6-pack of his favorite adult beverage, a pack of smokes, and then headed back home. Later in the day, he and his wife left. This time she was driving. They went to a grocery store, did some shopping, then headed home. I got plenty of video of him throughout the entire process, so the day was very successful, to say the least. Day 2 rolls around, same setup, same activity early in the day. He takes his son to the school bus stop, then on to the store for his morning 6-pack and smoke run, and then back home. He never went anywhere else on day 2, but he did have a visit from his oldest son. His son was quite active in the backyard and the rear driveway, so it kept me on my toes, always checking to see who was back there. It looked to me like his son was working on a car back there. Day 3 comes along and I head out like any other day. I was looking forward to my same setup, but when I got there, it wasn't happening. This time, the only place I could park was almost directly in front of the subject's residence across the street. Not ideal, to be sure, but I knew his pattern for the morning, and I could see both directions, in front of me and behind me in my side mirror, to watch when he left to take his son to the school bus stop, so I should be good to go. Just like clockwork, right on schedule, I see him and his son leaving in my mirror, and away I go. The chase is on. Not much of a chase, though. I pretty much knew exactly where he was going. This time, he dropped off his son, went to the convenience store, then went to a grocery store, then to a parts store, and then went home. As he arrived at home, he parked out back just like always. I had identified a location where I could get a little bit of video from a distance as he parked and carried everything into the house. While I was there, I also saw his older son working on his car back in the alley. As I was shooting my video, I suddenly noticed his son staring down the alley right in my direction. Now, I'm like, oh my goodness, am I burned? Did he see me? Does he know I'm here? This guy looks like a mean one. He's big, he's burly, and he could probably do a lot of harm to somebody if he wants to. I just kept my cool and I waited until he wasn't paying attention. Then I slipped away quietly, but I still had the rest of the day to finish up the surveillance. So I drive around for a bit looking for a good place to park, but there just wasn't any good places to park except that spot directly in front of his house across the street. Now, being the smart man that I am, I decided to go ahead and park there and just stay hidden. I figured his son was working on his car out in the alleyway out back. I should be safe in front, and I only had 5 or 6 more hours to go before I could call it a day. Now, hang on, it gets crazy here in a bit. I was able to follow my subject and his wife at lunch to a little restaurant where they had their lunch, then to a grocery store, and then back home. Nothing unusual occurred, nothing suspicious. They seemed perfectly normal to me. I got a ton more video of my subject. Everything was going quite well. Almost too well, you could say. I had a couple more hours to go. I was anxious to get this one done and in the books and move on to another case. Most of the cases that I get like this are 2-day cases. It is nice to get the 3-day ones or even longer sometimes, but they can get a little unnerving if you go out on consecutive days like I did on this one. The client wanted all 3 days during the week, back to back, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Not ideal by any means. I prefer to spread my surveillance days out, but what can I do? This was a big client. We got a lot of work from them, so we did what we had to do. Now there I sit directly across the street of my subject's house on this very busy 4-lane road. Then I see a car come up and park in the front driveway. This is something new. 3 guys get out, go up to the front door, knock, and then I see my subject answer the door. They all talk a little bit, they all laugh a little bit, then the 3 guys go inside the residence. A little while later, the front door opens up. Out walks guy number 1. Out walks guy number 2. Out walks guy number 3. Then out walks my subject's oldest son. They all get into the car in the driveway and they back out onto the street. Now, when they backed out onto the street, they are literally stopped right next to me, hiding there inside my car. I swear it was only for a split second, but it seemed like an eternity. Then they left and I was able to start breathing again. I checked my watch. I have about 45 minutes to go. Then they all come back. They park in the front driveway, and my subject's son goes into the house and closes the door. Not 20 seconds goes by, and he walks out onto the front porch, staring right in my direction. He comes up to the handrail, and he flips me the bird. Or did he? I glanced over, and I see all of his friends sitting in the car in the driveway, laughing their heads off. The car was parked between me and the front porch, and he was actually looking at them, not me. But man, was I ever scared at first. I initially thought I was truly burned on this case, but thankfully I was paying enough attention to what was going on. I could quickly sort things out and avert major panic. The craziest thing about it, though, I have actually had this happen to me twice, if you can believe it, on 2 different cases, but in almost the exact same scenarios. I have learned to keep my calm, watch what is going on, and in most cases, those situations end with a perfectly good explanation. But if you aren't paying attention, you could panic, and you could do the wrong thing, and you could really get burned. Hey, here are 2 more videos that I made just for you. Remember, folks, stay safe out there.